Welcome to the Pigskin Party Podcast, the only podcast that combines real NFL analysis with a splash of pop culture and a dash of the random. Let's get this Pigskin Party started with your hosts, Brian McFadden, Will Southard, and Tommy Yu.
Welcome, everybody, to the PPP. My name is Brian. Please, if you're listening for the first time, subscribe, rate, leave us a 5-star review, and tell a friend so we can grow this Pigskin Party. We've got some very big news with regards to this here Pigskin Party, but first, let me introduce one of my co-hosts. Mr. Tommy Yu is dealing with an HVAC issue, so just like old times, Will Southard. Will, how you feeling, man?
I'm good, man. I'm fresh off I'm going to my first Gator game in 15 years. We killed Tennessee. That was fun. Getting ready for somewhat now.
I did see some posts on social media. Naturally, 0 masks. Did you feel comfortable, or you just came to terms with the COVID that was around you?
Not one mask to be had in the entire place. But, I mean, if you're going to hug strangers anyway, because that's what you do at college football games, it was a pretty good time.
Lots of hand smacking and just germs flying through the air. It sounds like a lovely Saturday afternoon. Did it make you feel nostalgic for the old college days? I see you've put Tebow behind you. You replaced AB after Whitney, our guest last week.
She eviscerated me, bro. She made me feel so bad. And here's the thing. Like, I was like, I don't know what to say. I guess you're right. So I still have Antonio. He's over there in the corner because, like, I'm not going to get rid of him. Let's be honest. But I just went a little holier with my the Tebow jersey in the background now, and a little more wholesome. Whitney just played on my my conscience.
She put you in your place, and that the fact that on our YouTube videos that is what's in camera. Better human being. I'll say that. Less a football player, better human being. We'll start there. Lindsay Bebo might have something to say about that. So I have some huge news. We teased it last week, but it has been official. Obviously, we wanted Will and Tommy on this. I'm hoping that that Tommy can get done with his HVAC issue. We've told him just to hop on the show when he's ready, so hopefully we'll get him on later. I know everybody's excited about his fantasy island, but Will, are you ready to drop our big news? Couple of its big news. All right. So we have now officially joined a podcast network, and the name. Nice, thank you, Anthony. Nate. There he goes,
Stop
trigger
it.
happy again. I just imagine it as just like two quick taps. The name of the network is, wait for it, the Pigskin Podcast Network. Now, we did not name it. We did not create our own podcast network. Yep. Wait for the round of the applause. We respect our fans. It just kind of happened that they came across us, saw the obvious fit. They really dig the show. They invited us, and on top of that, we now have a sponsor. Well, how do you feel about having an actual sponsor?
I feel like I'm gonna do worse in my DFS action but now we're legit. I guess, sort of, kind of. I don't know. I would say I got to get better at my picks, but we'll get into that. I eviscerated everybody this weekend. You did. So
I put on Twitter credit where credit is due. Yes, yeah. We teased last week the type of pricing, and I cannot say the site anymore that I was using that pricing for in our Hires and Flyers DFS pick, because we, through the Pigskin Podcast Network, which, by the way, check them out, pigskinpodcastnetwork.com, we are now sponsored by DraftKings. So if you're part of our DraftKings league, we already had it running. We've got our free weekly contest. We'll give a shout out to the winners at the end. But through our new podcast network, which we're so excited to join, we now are sponsored by DraftKings, which means you're going to get to hear a good old-fashioned ad read from me later. I will try to put some oomph and some energy into it. And that means that Will, much to his chagrin, has to now use DraftKings pricing in our Hires and Flyers pieces. Can you manage that?
I think so. It's a little tighter, though. I think the guys over at DraftKings and girls are a little smarter about how they price things. So it's not as easy to exploit, but I don't know. I say that I'm taking fat L's this year in DFS so far. So stop that, Anthony.
Keep it coming, Anthony.
Not as fat of L's as the Lions did, but we'll get into that.
You set yourself up for that. What an epic loss.
But, we'll make it happen.
You don't really have a choice because we are now sponsored by DraftKings, so you're going to have to roll with it. Yeah, as I mentioned, Tommy's not on the show right now. We're hoping to get him later, but as we have been doing on the main episodes the past few weeks, we're going to go ahead and recap all the games from Week 3. It'll just be me and Will going back and forth, sharing our high-level thoughts, our trends, what we're taking out of these games. We'll go on and preview and pick every single Week 4 game. Hopefully Tommy's at least on for that. We will give a recap on how the picks for the 3 hosts turned out. As Will mentioned, spoiler alert, he had a good week. He had a great week to get back into the contest. And then we'll do our fantasy talk. We will do our DFS hires and flyers brought to you by DraftKings. We'll mention our DraftKings winners from the weekly contest, our free weekly contest last week. And assuming Tommy's got his HVAC up and running, we're going to have Tommy's Fantasy Island. Hit it, Anthony. You don't have the sound drop ready for the Fantasy Island?
Wow.
He's already been trigger happy. He's hit like 7 different sound drops. And the Fantasy Island, the best sound drop that everybody loves, and it still hasn't been played. Anthony. Oh, there you go. A little late to the party, but I guess better late than never. It's almost like you were the victim of a 66-yard field goal to lose a game. All right, let's go. Nice. That one he was quick on. So let's go ahead and recap Week 3, starting with Thursday Night Football. The Carolina Panthers, not that this was much of a surprise, but they moved to 3-0, beating the Houston Texans 24-9. Will, any thoughts? I mean, this was pretty much how we expected it to go.
Yeah, I mean, obviously a huge loss with J.C. Horn, right?
Broke his foot.
Panthers.
Yeah.
That's a big one. I think everybody's surprised with how mobile Samuel Darnold of House Darnold is this year. I mean, rushing a lot, touchdowns anyway. So I don't know. I mean, they were always going to beat the Texans, right? I think that was pretty inevitable. But
right.
I think this game could have ramifications for them moving forward for that defense and for McCaffrey's situation. So.
McCaffrey left the game with a hamstring injury. I will say that the Panthers said today that he will not go on IR, which is promising because now IR isn't season ending. You only miss 3 games. So the fact that he's not going on IR hints to us that they expect him back sooner than 3 games, which good news for if you're a Panthers fan. This is my first time actually being able to watch a full Panthers game. So that defense is for real. I've been talking about the Panthers. If you listened to the Flavor of the Week last week, I made a declaration that they were going to finish as the top defense. And now after seeing an entire game, yeah, I believe it. They were all over Davis Mills in that backfield. Mr. Pezhead, as you mentioned on Twitter. As you mentioned also.
It's a big neck. It's a really big neck.
It's an insane neck. I didn't know that. I guess you always see him with his helmet on and then you put that on Twitter and that looks like it's stretched out CGI. It doesn't look real. As you mentioned, their rookie defensive back, their first-round pick, J.C. Horn, did break his foot. We do need to mention your boy, former Gator, first-round pick, C.J. Henderson. The Panthers traded for him for, a bag of potato chips and, a third-round pick. Got him super cheap. I guess Urban, he was on the outs there. But now a former first-round pick comes on to the Panthers. How do you like that move? Do you think that it's a plug-and-play?
Dude, for going to Florida, I am not very high on Florida defensive backs. I've seen them, throughout their whole college career, and then I've seen them go into the NFL. I knew going into the NFL, Vernon Hargraves would be kind of, and Henderson, he flashed really good, but he also
showed a lot in his rookie season.
He when he's at Florida at times, you'd kind of wonder about him. He just wasn't as didn't seem as into it, towards the end there. And saw some quotes from his teammates when he got traded. He was kind of weird. We'll be fine. And that's not a ringing endorsement from your teammate, right? So remains to be seen what he actually does. But, I think it's, they traded Dan Arnold. Okay, right?
Well, they lost the Jacksonville. Who knows what Urban's doing, by the way. That team is an absolute mess. But they lost Shaughnessy. Shaughnessy. Is there an O in there? Who was a preferred target of Trevor Lawrence. So they replaced him with Dan Arnold and got a third-round pick for a guy who was a very highly thought-of first-round pick. hopefully for Carolina's sake, they can get him up to speed and replace J.C. Horn because, like I said, that defense is legit.
Jacksonville will do things to your brain. It's where your dreams go to die.
Yeah, we can see that clearly. I have no idea. We'll get to that when we get to the Jacksonville game. My Miami Dolphins, with Jacoby Brissett starting in place of Tua, who was placed on IR after breaking a rib or two. I don't really know how many ribs. Fought hard in Las Vegas, took the Raiders to overtime, came back, had to get a 2-point conversion. Jacoby Brissett made some beautiful fourth down conversions, and that 2-point conversion ran the touchdown in. You gotta hand it to him. But in the end, the Raiders won the toss, kicked the extra point, or kicked the field goal. Then Dolphins kicked a field goal, and the Raiders got the last chance at the field goal. Some notes I had from the game. Obviously, I watched this game. The Dolphins defense started off hot. Got that pick six, Landon Roberts. That was pretty much the only mistake Carr made. I was wondering if we might see old school Derek Carr and kind of the up and down, but that was it. He really rebounded after that. Played a great game. There's no downfield element to the Dolphins at all. Their offensive line did play better. They shifted a few things around. It wasn't great, but it was certainly better than the first 2 weeks. Brissett at least had more time to throw, but there is zero downfield element. And if you don't have that in this NFL, these defenses are going to figure that out quick. So I'm a little worried about that going forward. Any thoughts before we move on here?
The 3-0 Raiders, bro.
Yeah.
Like we're soon going to find out that Denver's not really a thing. Like, are the Raiders a thing? Like, they're not a thing, right? I don't feel like they're actually a thing.
First of all, are you convinced Denver's not a thing just because of who they played?
Kind of, yeah. I mean, okay. We know what Denver is, right? Like a pretty good defense with like a mediocre Andy Dalton-ish offense, right?
Teddy's playing decent. I mean,
he is, but he was always going to, right? I mean, He played okay everywhere. So, I mean, we're not talking about Denver later, but the Raiders team's playing with a little bit of fire. Everybody's high on Derek Carr right now. So it's a surprise, I think, from how we entered the year.
Little teaser for this week's flavor of the week. We are going to talk about preseason scripts that have been flipped. Flip the script, and there might be a Derek Carr sighting in there. So pay attention to that. We will be talking more about that later. The Washington football team got...
Hey, wait. I have a question.
Go ahead.
If he just starts doing bad, are we going to call it a car crash?
Just
I feel like we have to.
We will. We absolutely have to. A car crash. 2 R's. So the Buffalo Bills showed everybody that they're still the Buffalo Bills. And the Washington football team made us question why they ever had a good defense last year. 43-21. But one of those touchdowns for Washington, they recovered their own onside. It wasn't even like an onside kick. It was like the wind caught the ball and the kicker got it. They put him in great field position and then the other touchdown was an Antonio Gibson long screen that he just absolutely, beasted everyone. But the Bills dominated. Josh Allen, 4 touchdown passes, 1 rushing touchdown. He did still had a few of those inaccurate passes we've been talking about, but otherwise he was studly. He was the MVP candidate that we saw from last week. This game just was not close from the start.
I mean, only a matter of time, right, before Allen. You think, you hope,
there were questions.
Right? Because that was going to be one of the surprises. Like, did we go the wrong way? But
yep.
Just a dominant force of a showing. All my friends were like, damn it, this is the week I didn't play Allen, right? Everybody was starting to get off of him, and then he sort of comes back. But, I mean, I think the big takeaways there, number one, the Bills are fine. Emmanuel Sanders.
Emmanuel Sanders,
look great.
He did.
Dawson Knox is getting a fair amount of targets, which is interesting, I guess.
Cole Beasley had 11 catches.
Yeah,
11 targets.
Nobody cares about Beasley.
No, that's
and then the football team's defense is talking about trends, just not anywhere close to what you would think it would be, and I don't know if I could put my finger on exactly why. They're not.
Well, I dove into it.
It's just crazy.
So, and of course, we're going to talk about the picks later. Last week, as I told you guys, and I'll tell all of you now listening, you guys being Will and Tommy, I did not properly prep for my picks last week. I actually went to see Shang-Chi, another teaser. We're going to talk about Shang-Chi and the palate cleanser for the flavor of the week. But that was my normal prep time. So I went a lot on feeling last week. This week, I did my research. I dove deep into a lot of these teams as I was making my picks. In Washington, if you go to PFF, the defensive line is still graded really well. They're winning up front. They're getting opportunities. They're maybe not getting as many sacks as they did last year, but the secondary and the linebackers seem to be the issue. They've basically been carved up by the receivers for every team that they've played. If you think about what the Giants did to them through the air, in that Thursday night game in Week 2, and the Chargers, that's Justin Herbert, so you figure, okay, he's going to carve up most defenses. But here, man, everybody got involved. Diggs had, I think, 6 or 7 catches. It's just Josh Allen could do no wrong. Whoever he decided to throw to, tight end, slot receiver, outside receiver, Washington just couldn't stop it. So it seems to be whatever worked for them for a secondary standpoint last year has not carried over so far.
I think it's an interesting talk when we talk about the matchups this week. It's got some implications for sure.
Yep, agreed. So, I don't even know where to start with this game.
I do.
Okay, I'm just going to let you start.
The Browns needed a cupcake, bro. And the Bears just happened to be that. Like, here's the thing. Going into DFS last week, and I talk a lot about DFS because it's the most fun I have, I said to myself, there's 2 defenses that I want to get to. Either the Browns or the Bengals. I saw that one coming a mile away, by the way. And I didn't hit either one. I wanted to fit in some studs, and I took the Jets. That didn't work out. However, God, going into that game, everybody was saying, like, I don't know, Justin Fields just doesn't seem ready. And he is not ready by any means. So I think that, that's the one takeaway there. I mean, on the Browns side of the ball, Odell Beckham looked pretty good, right? Kareem Hunt had a good game. I kind of saw that coming too. Awesome rushing team. So I think that's the main thing is just Fields. I think it's a narrative, right? If Fields is starting, play the defenses that are playing Fields, just like the narrative is play the defenses that are facing Zach Wilson. Although that could be a trap this week. Talk about that later.
Yes, we will. So I watched this entire game. This is one of the games that I watched in full. I'm bringing up the box score here, though, because that's important. I'm going to go over the stats because they are very relevant in this game, and then I'll say what I actually took notes. This is me prepared. I've got like 4 screens going. I'm taking notes.
You're still going to lose in picks this week.
Probably. I was very upset. I didn't do terrible, but I did worse than last week.
That's what
compared to you.
Say.
Anyway,
that's what losers say.
Touche.
I did pretty good, but I lost.
Hey, well, moral victories. So Justin Fields, 6 for 20, 68 passing yards.
Yeah.
He lost 67 yards through sacks. Now, how the NFL tracks total team passing yards is passing yards minus sack yards, which means the Chicago Bears finished with 1 net passing yard in this entire game. 1.
Even if you didn't take away the sack yards, Justin Tucker almost had as many yards on 1 kick.
Yeah, true. Wow, that really puts it into perspective. The Bears could not outgain a single field goal from the great Justin Tucker, which we will also get to. So I'm looking at the team stats here, and if you're on NFL.com, they have the color-coded graphs. It's basically just like a giant long orange graph for the Browns and a tiny little brown graph for the Bears. 418 total yards for the Bears, 47. Not 147, 47 for Chicago.
Yeah.
Those stats say it all. I'm going to go through some of my notes.
And now he's going to get fired.
If he loses this week, teaser there for our producer, he might just get fired. That might be the end of it. Baker had some accuracy issues early. He obviously cleaned that up, but I was a little surprised. I think he started 1 for 6. You're 100% right. OBJ was heavily targeted. The chemistry between the two looked good. That was always a question. What's Baker's chemistry with Odell? Looked great. Odell was making great catches, running good routes. It looked solid. Brown started off 0 for 2 on 4th down. That's one of the reasons this score is only 26-6, as they actually missed 2 4th downs early, and the Browns actually got to Baker. I think they sacked him 4 times. But other than that, the Browns were just moving the ball at will. And then on the other side of the ball, 9 sacks for the Browns. 9. And Myles Garrett had 4.5 of those. Fields was holding the ball too long, but his offensive line wasn't giving him any time. I don't think the play calling did him any favors.
We can agree the Bears are bad, right?
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah.
Okay, Cleo Mack. I saw him go to the locker room. What's his status? I should know this, but
I haven't seen anything on it. Which usually means it wasn't major, because I have all sorts of alerts set up. So if it was a major injury, I in all
probably
likelihood
faked an injury just to get off the field.
Just get out of that debacle. I don't blame him. Okay, let's move on. We talked about it. This game is next. So let's set the stage. Anthony, our producer's Detroit Lions, once again playing hard. They have now played hard for 3 weeks. Anthony, you got to be excited about that at least. Dan Campbell clearly has...
His culture is rubbing off, bro.
Yeah, that they're biting kneecaps. At the very least, they're biting kneecaps. And they actually had the lead 17-16 with just almost no time left in the fourth. I think they sacked Lamar Jackson twice on that final drive. Got it to fourth down. He converts the fourth down. They have just enough time for a 66-yard field goal. And the GOAT,
Jesus, that's
shotgun boom of a kick. We're gonna need the GOAT drop for this. It's not just for Brady anymore, because Justin Tucker, the greatest kicker of all time, hits a 66-yard field goal. NFL record, longest in NFL history by 2 yards. Beat Matt Prater's former record of 64 yards. Bounces on the crossbar and then goes in to win in epic fashion.
So, a couple things. One,
get another shotgun, Anthony. There
yes. You go. Couple things. I saw Prater earlier in the day, right? He had that the boomy. What was he trying for, a 68? I think tried for a 68, and it came
for the Cardinals. Was that Prater that was kicking for them?
I think so.
I don't remember. I didn't see who the kicker was.
Now I'm feeling really bad if Arizona Cardinals kicker. Yeah. So, but like that went really bad. Right, and he had the record, and then this Tucker thing. You know what's funny? Side note is I had dinner with an old D1 kicker one time. He used to play for UVA, Virginia, and has a lot of records and all that kind of stuff. We were at a wedding party together, and I was talking to him, and I was like, "How do you think the one downside? Like the record was 64. It's like that doesn't seem that far. Like it is for sure. It's the record." But like guys hit much farther in practice. And he's like, well, practice is not a game, blah, blah, blah. I get it. I just think people are very, very, coaches and NFL teams are so hesitant to try from those kind of distances. If they were a little more apt to do it, I think the record would have fallen a long time ago.
Well,
but I guess the Jaguars game is proof why
I was about to say there's a reason, and we saw it happen in real time. Let's talk about that when we get down to the Jacksonville game. Any thoughts on this besides the kick, which was epic? As I said, Detroit played hard, and I'm encouraged for this upcoming week. Any thoughts other than that for the Ravens' victory here, moving to 2-1?
I mean,
you don't have to have thoughts. We got more games to cover.
I'm excited for Bateman to get back.
Yeah, he does. Sure. He comes off IR. It doesn't mean he'll be ready, but he's eligible to come off IR for Week 4. I'm off on the Colts. I picked the Colts to win the division in the preseason when we did our predictions, and I picked the Colts to win this game on a feeling because I didn't do enough research, and I'm not saying it was a blowout. The Titans won 25-16 in Tennessee. Titans moved to 2-1. Colts are now 0-3.
You had a gimpy ginger on 2 bad ankles. Like, what did you expect going in?
That's what I get, for seeing Shang-Chi in the middle of a day on a Tuesday. But yeah, so I don't have a lot to add to this game. Tennessee didn't blow them out of the water. And that's the thing, too, is the Colts have played all the teams close, except for Seattle. They only lost by 3 to the Rams, who just trounced the Bucs.
They're not a bad team, man.
They're not a bad team, but they're not a good team.
No, definitely not.
So we don't have to spend too much time unless you have additional thoughts here. Tannehill looked good from what I saw.
The usage of A.J. Brown and Julio is kind of weird to start.
Well, A.J. Brown is injured, and A.J. Brown hurt his hamstring, yeah.
I know, but I'm just saying that, like, he's not the A.J. Brown that we saw, right? Like, they're not, not for yet. Whatever reason, that offense is not rolling like it used to, right?
So he's had some drops, too, early in the season.
Remains to be seen there. Derrick Henry's still going to Derrick Henry, but, yeah, there's a lot. I think there's some themes coming out of Tennessee that we can talk about. But, yep.
By the way, if we could turn back the clock and add after this game, for our jump to conclusions last week, I think we all could jump to conclusions that Tennessee has already won the AFC South. with Houston and Jacksonville and the Colts. I mean, can we just give them the division crown now? What a crappy division. Okay, let's go on to a division that is quite the opposite of crappy. And we might see a little bit of a changing of the guard, but that's maybe a little hyperbolic. The Los Angeles Chargers go into Arrowhead. Justin Herbert versus Patrick Mahomes, and they walk out with the win, 30-24. Nice. The Chargers move to 2-1. The Chiefs, the Kansas City Chiefs, Tyreek Hill, Kelsey, Mahomes, 1-2, losing record after 3 weeks. Do we take anything out of this? Mahomes had a few turnovers. He had 2 interceptions. One bounced off his receiver's hand, but it was a no-look pass. So the guy wasn't ready. I think it was Pringle wasn't ready for it. And then another one where he was just scrambling and did his hero ball on a 4th down. What do you see in this game?
I mean, we've been saying this for here's the thing. I say for a long time, and Jeff's going to take issue with this, that the Chiefs offense is 3 people.
Scheisse.
Mahomes spread the ball around, right? Like, I think he hit 9 or 10 different receivers. Like, it's not that, right? He does spread the ball around, but like, to win a boat race game, you really have to take away 2 people, right? Mostly just kind of one, which is Tyreek Hill. And they had some mistakes, but their defense is not so good that they're going to just shut people down, right? Like, you can move the ball against the Chiefs. They have some playmakers that make some plays.
They're actually rated, I think, 32nd in the league. It's not that they're not good. They're dreadfully bad.
So what I'm saying is, if you take away their ability to boat race you, right, and you prevent the Chiefs actually with if there was a point in the game where the Chargers were up by like 2, I think, and I went to go bet the game because I always bet the Chiefs when they're down, and the Chiefs were favored. Like, I guess the bettors realized this too, and I'm like, well, I'm not doing that. Like, I'm not betting on somebody, and thank God I didn't.
Good for you.
But kind of saw this one coming. The Chargers defense is great. That secondary, all that stuff. Herbert looked really good. Knew Eckler was going to have a great game. Mike Williams is playing out of his mind. I think if we're going to talk about trends, we need to put some respect on Mike Williams' name. Like, Keenan Allen's been the name there for a long time, but Williams looks great this year. One of his touchdowns is BS.
I noticed you didn't put his any notes in the flavor of the week, so I'm going to go ahead and toss you. Why don't you just save Mike Williams flipping the script for a Flavor of the Week episode. So here's a note I put. This was another game I watched because I was super excited about this game. Derwin injured, Kelsey time. So Derwin was out for like 1 drive, and Kelsey got like 4 catches, and then Derwin came back in. Derwin James. So that just shows you the impact he had on the rest of the drives because Kelsey didn't do much else. They shut down Tyreek. They're clearly defending against the deep ball. The Ravens did the same thing in week 2. My high-end take is that the Chiefs, they won so many close games last year. I'm not that worried. I think this is more showing just how well KC played than San Diego. L.A., the Chargers, lightning bolt, played than any knock on KC.
I mean, you gave Andy Reid a stroke or something.
Apparently it was dehydration. That was the latest.
Okay.
Quote, dehydration.
He's about to Urban Meyer out of the NFL if they start losing.
No, don't. We love Andy Reid. Let's not do that to him. But yes, I'm not worried long term. So Jeff, I know you're listening. We should have him on soon. If KC loses week 3. So anyway, we'll get you on here soon, Jeff. But yes, the Chargers still in 3rd place in the AFC West at 2-1 because both the Broncos and the Raiders are undefeated. The New Orleans Saints. This is another game that surprised me. Maybe we all bought into the Saints getting trounced by the Panthers last week, but they came in and trounced the Patriots.
Did I pick
Mac
this
Jones.
game right? Or did I list this one?
We all picked the Patriots. All 3 of us picked
okay.
the Patriots for this.
That's
This
fair.
was one of your few misses. But it was at home. It was in Foxborough. But Mac Jones, welcome to the NFL. Threw 3 interceptions. The Saints had controlled the entire game. Alvin Kamara had 27 touches. They finally figured out, hey, we got this all-pro future Hall of Fame running back. Maybe we should use him. And it worked. And the defense really kept everything in front of them. They confused Mac Jones. Jones didn't have any hasn't really had a deep ball, but they tried to get the deep ball involved. Didn't have any of that. And I don't have anything else to add. 28-13 final score. Saints moved to 2-1. Patriots 1-2.
This is one of my missed calls on the week. Is I've always been kind of on the fence about Kamara. Not his talent. I think he's amazing. But like calling the big games that he's going to have, like he was supposed to have a huge week 1, didn't, right? And then this game kind of going into it against the Patriots, I was like, well, who else do they have, right? They have a great secondary. Obviously, they're going to focus on Kamara. Had a great game. So I think don't doubt him. I guess keep playing him because he's all they got right now. So
and if the sooner they realize it, which they seem to in this game, the better their team will be. If they can, quite frankly, keep the ball out of Jameis's hands and just find ways to get
Moral of the story is Patriots spent stupid money on Aguilar and Kendrick Bourne, and now
and Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry.
Yeah, and they're realizing that their 3 wide receiver set is better than their 2 tight end set, and they spent all their money on Henry and Smith. So I don't know, just take Jonnu and
their
make
top
him
receiver,
loose.
Jacoby Myers, was a guy who was already on the roster. So all this money spent, and honestly, I'm yet to be impressed. We thought, they spent great on defense, but the defense hasn't looked that good.
How happy are you about this?
I love it. Of course I love it. 1-2. They're still – and the Dolphins beat the Patriots, so we're still in second place. The Patriots are in third place. Let's keep rolling. This was one of the other games that you got wrong, and quite frankly, we all got wrong. New York Giants playing at home against what we thought hapless Atlanta Falcons, and honestly, the Giants had control of the whole game, but the Falcons, Younghoe Koo hits a game-winning field goal. Falcons win 17-14. The Falcons get their first win under new head coach Arthur Smith, and the New York Giants are now 0-3 and looking pretty pitiful.
They're still bad. Both those teams are bad.
Oh, of course. I was listening to a podcast, I don't remember which one, that said like it would have been fitting if this game would have just ended in a tie. Like just have 2 just dreadful teams. Neither team deserves to win. Just give them a tie.
You know how like if you have a really nice juicy grape, right, and you leave it outside and the sun just bakes the hell out of it and it shrivels up and turns into a raisin, and it's like kind of just old and dry. Still tastes pretty good. Then you urinate on the raisin.
What?
That's what Matt Ryan is. He's a urinated on raisin. He's just washed up, man. He's just not good anymore. Like they're just a bad team. They're a bad offense. Like it's bad defense. Like the whole thing is just a mess. So
credit where credit is due, not just for your picks, Will, but for your imagination. I don't know how long you've been cooking up that one, but it's apt.
I just made it
fits. Up. It's just you're just inspired on the spot. I cannot disagree with that. We'll have to think of a nickname. We got Danny Duds, who played okay actually in this, but the rest of his team just wasn't there. Sterling Shepard got injured. He's been that top target. Saquon actually got in the end zone, but overall just not a great team effort. The Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah.
I listened back to the podcast. Both you and Tommy picked Cincinnati here. I went once again based on feeling. I went on precedent. How often are the Cincinnati Bengals going to go into Pittsburgh after Pittsburgh's coming off of a loss and beat them to the tune of 24-10?
Well, what you're forgetting is, number one, their offensive line is terrible.
Yeah,
Deontay out, right?
Deontay Johnson did not play. Yeah.
Roethlisberger was playing with a torn left breast or whatever, an injured pectoral muscle. He's as mobile as a statue, bro. Like he can't move. Chase has picked up on the Bengals offense. Like that Chase connection is real for Burrow. Yep. And their defense is pretty good. Like the Bengals are not like a joke anymore. I mean, they're not wonderful. I mean,
Burrow only had to throw 18 passes. They controlled the ball on the ground. They played great defense.
Is bad.
So Pittsburgh was without T.J. Watt and without Alex Highsmith, and they recorded 2 pressures. 0 sacks, 2 pressures the entire game. If you give Joe Burrow that kind of time with the weapons he's got, he's going to carve you up. I think, I'm bringing up the box score now, I think Najee Harris had something like 19 receptions or something insane. Like he was far and away their top receiver, which is encouraging from a talent standpoint, but not from a, hey, let's get the ball downfield.
It's like if you had a property, and on your property you have your driveway, right? It's dirt road, long dirt road. And you go buy a sports car, but your dirt road is full of potholes. Like you gotta fix the line, bro. Like you don't spend money on the Najee Harris sports car until you get a really nice place to park it and drive it, right? And that's what the Pittsburgh did.
19 targets, 14 receptions, 102 yards. Chase Claypool had 15 targets. The next closest person, Ray McLeod with 4, and Juju with 4. So basically, they just threw it to Najee and Chase Claypool. That's it. Clearly not a winning strategy, and it is not getting any easier for Pittsburgh this week. We'll talk about that in the previews.
By the way, talk about something I got really wrong, was in our all defensive team. I named Minka Fitzpatrick as my guy. He's like the worst safety going in right now. He's not playing very good at all.
No, he really isn't. We might have to amend the rules to change our all PP Pro defense mid-season, or we might just have to stick with it and just take our L there. Your L. He's on our team because of you.
Whatever. At least I picked this game right.
That you did. So did Tommy. The Arizona Cardinals. We mentioned this game earlier. The Jacksonville Jaguars were actually leading at halftime because, as you alluded to, Cliff Kingsbury decided to try a 68-yard field goal. This was before the Ravens game, so this is before Justin Tucker did what he did. Came up short, and Jamal Agnew returned the kick 109 yards for a touchdown. This was in Jacksonville. They were pumped. Everybody's excited, and then Arizona's like, "No, you guys suck. We're just gonna outscore you now." I think he had one last week too. The second week in a row where Kyler Murray threw a pick six. Or at least I don't know if it was a return for a touchdown, but it was a bad throw. He just kind of threw it down the field into coverage. But nonetheless, Arizona found a way to win, which is not something they always have done in the past. 31-19, still covered the spread. The Cardinals moved to 3-0 with a huge matchup in line coming up this week. And the Jaguars moved to 0-3 and quite frankly could be in line for the number 1 pick again 2 years in a row. I wonder if that's happened before.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Well, I mean,
you don't have to have analysis here. It was
my analysis is I kind of felt like it was
Lawrence looked bad.
A letdown spot for Murray. Like I really didn't. I mean, you got to play him until he he shows it to you, right? And still did okay. I mean, a pretty decent game, but I kind of liked that it brought him down to earth a little bit. I mean, whenever he doesn't have Hopkins, at full strength, Hopkins probably just shouldn't have played.
Yeah. AJ Green came out balling.
Yeah.
Had 100
Rondale
yards
Moore didn't have the kind of game that you would.
Christian Kirk had 100 yards and AJ Green had 100 yards. Rondale Moore had 2 catches for not much.
So, I think they get right, though, going forward. I mean, they're going to have to get creative. Well, we'll talk about the matchups. That's going to be a hell of a test. But, yeah, I mean, the trend we all know.
This is the true test this week. Little teaser for that. So the Denver Broncos, who you don't believe in, apparently, moved to 3-0, 26-0 against the Jets, who is just Zach Wilson looking worse each week. I hope that's not a trend for Jets fans. Jets go to 0-3. Broncos defense again looked great. Teddy looked very efficient. Tim Patrick was heavily involved. They did lose KJ Hamler for the season. So now you've got Jerry Jeudy out. He'll be back at some point. Hamler lost for the season, so expect a lot of Cortland Sutton, Tim Patrick, and Noah Fant going forward. Not a sexy game. None of the Broncos' wins have been particularly sexy, but they've all been efficient. They've covered the spread in all 3 games, which is noteworthy. This isn't a team that's squeaking by. They are beating bad teams easily, and for that they deserve some credit. And they are tied for first in the AFC West with the Raiders.
Yeah. We'll see this week. That's all I got to say.
More of a test. Another undefeated team who will have a much better test this week than they've had for the first 3 weeks. And here's the last game you got wrong, and this was the one I picked that you and Tommy went against me. I didn't know it would be this much of a trouncing, but the Los Angeles Rams stay undefeated, defeating the Super Bowl champ Tampa Bay Buccaneers 34-24 at SoFi Stadium in Los Angeles. Bucs moved to 2-1. Any high-level thoughts on this game?
I bet money on the Rams. So there's that.
There's your emotional hedge for you.
I think, I mean, it's obvious how this game was going to play out, right? Like, Tampa's offense was going to have to just move the ball because the Rams were surely going to move the ball on Tampa's secondary, right? Like, I think they badly need, as bad as it sounds, Sherman or somebody. Anybody come in and play, defensive back. I feel sorry about what's about to happen to the Pats what Tom Brady's going to do to that team after taking a fat L. But hey, this is good for the Bucs. Get out of the way early in the year. Get a test against probably the NFL's best team right now.
Yeah, I agree.
And figure out what you need to do. And for the Rams, man, a lot to be excited about. Just a lot.
They couldn't have looked any better, honestly. So this was the fourth game that I watched in full. So a few things to note. Stafford missed Deshaun Jackson sighting. He's back and just as fast as ever. Stafford missed him on 2 deep balls earlier in the game and then hit on a third one. Point being, first of all, D-Jax has still got it. He's getting open behind the coverage. Yes, we know Tampa Bay has secondary issues. That they need to address because if teams realize they can beat the Bucs deep, that's just going to open up that defense even more. The Bucs did not have much of a pass rush either. Stafford really had plenty of time. And
Pierre-Paul was out too.
JPP was out, correct. But you still got Shaq Barrett. You got Joe Tryon, the rookie. You got Sue and Vita Vea in the middle. I mean, you have this talent. Losing one guy shouldn't affect that. But, wow, the Rams looked as good as Cooper Kupp. It's number 1 scoring fantasy wide receiver.
D-Jax has those kind of games, though, right? Like, D-Jax will do nothing all year, and then he'll go for, 200 yards and 2 touchdowns out of nowhere, and then he'll go back to nowhere again. But, I don't know. I mean, you got to get excited about Van Jefferson. I mean, Robert Woods is still a thing. They just... Tyler Higbee, he's flying under the radar a little bit.
You got great pass rush. You got Aaron Donald. You got Jalen Ramsey and Darius Williams in the secondary. You've got all those weapons on offense. The offensive line is playing well. This is the best team. I'll say right now. As of right now, the Rams are the best team in the NFL.
They've always been there. They just haven't had that quarterback to get them over the hump, right? And trash.
That was the question. Does Stafford really make that big of a difference so far? A resounding yes. So we'll see. We talked about it, big test in the NFC West coming up this week. So we'll see if they can keep up.
The Rams took a dump in a garbage bag and sent it to Detroit.
Wah, wah. There you go. All right, this is another game. This is a game I was proud of because this was all feeling. I felt like the Vikings were going to beat the Seahawks, and they did. Pretty resoundingly, 30-17 at home. The Vikings get their first win of the season, 1-2. Seahawks lose 2 in a row to move to 1-2. It just felt like a game where you're going to hear that Vikings horn, and the Vikings were going to control the ball, and that's exactly... You picked the Vikings. Well, I talked you into them. You're welcome. So, I don't know if you remember that, but you actually agreed with me. It was Tommy who picked the Seahawks here.
I'm really, really, annoyed by the Seattle receivers. Because I always pick the damn wrong one. Right? I
picked DK. He had a touchdown.
Going into it, and I'm like, well, Tyler Lockett's been hot. DK, they've kind of figured him out. And then the first drive, it's like DK. I'm like, come on, bro. So, the Rams or the Seahawks offense just makes me angry. But, hey, the Vikings got a lot of people that are stepping up, that Madison looked pretty good. He's, looked bad, kind of, when he's had to fill in for Dalvin Cook in the past. Osborne, Jefferson is amazing. You got a lot of weapons there, so they can just, they need to figure it out. I mean, the Seahawks defense is not, the toughest test in the NFL. So
if you think of it this way, too, the Vikings lost in overtime in Week 1 to the Bengals, who we now know is a better team than we thought they would be. They lost on a missed 37-yard field goal against the Cardinals in Week 2. This is a team that could easily be 3-0 now. And this was a team that I picked to make the playoffs, who I was feeling pretty stupid after Week 1, now feeling a little bit better about their chances. They're in a weak division aside from the Packers. So getting to play the Bears and the Lions twice each will come in handy. And I think this is a scrappy team. Their defense is better than we thought it would be, but their offense, Kirk Cousins is playing fantastic, honestly. Efficient, spreading the ball. You got KJ Osborne getting involved. Thielen has already scored 4 touchdowns. Justin Jefferson finally had his breakout game for the season. And as you said, even without Dalvin Cook, Alexander Mattison gets in there and they don't miss a beat. Mm-hmm. 2 more games to cover, and then we will get into our Week 4 preview. Sunday Night Football. Epic game. Oh, these primetime games this season have been absolutely fantastic. So, about 15 minutes from my house at Levi's Stadium, Green Bay Packers, after the 49ers came back, down 17 at half, or 17 right before the half, to take the lead, 28-27, but they leave a whole 37 seconds with no timeouts for Aaron Rodgers, and then they somehow fail to cover the best receiver in the NFL 2 plays in a row. 2 long passes to Devontae Adams, 2 spiked footballs, and the great Mason Crosby hits a 52-yard field goal for the Packers to win. They move to 2-1. The Niners now get their first loss of the season, moving to 2-1.
Yeah, I mean, I just saw the highlights of this game, so I didn't really watch the whole thing closely, but I don't know, man. You know, the 49ers defense is not really what you think it could be, right? I mean, especially in the secondary.
Yeah.
They can get beat for sure. So, going into that with Aaron Rodgers and that offense looking like it as good as, shook off that week 1 rust pretty fast, didn't they? So I don't know. I mean, a pretty obvious result to me, but yeah, I mean, for all accounts, a good game.
And finally, the Monday Night Football game, and it's too bad. Maybe Tommy was purposely HVAC, Maybe he just didn't want to have to talk about this game. This was ugly. First of all, kudos to the Cowboys. They look phenomenal. I think the only loss they have is a slim loss in Tampa Bay in opening night against the Super Bowl champs. Otherwise, they'd be 3-0. This is a team that beat the Chargers last week and just beat the Eagles 41-21, and the game wasn't even that close. That 20 points doesn't really do it justice. A lot of it was garbage time. The defense played really well. Trayvon Diggs might just be one of the biggest surprises at defensive back. Like, he already has 3 interceptions, took one back for a pick 6 this game, his second year as a pro, and he looks like he could be the next lockdown corner.
Yeah, I mean, I still think Dallas's secondary is a little suspect, right? I mean, but they have looked much better than I think anybody thought going into the year, talking about the script. And, I think you could maybe argue that, like, Dallas has kind of a Chubb Hunt situation with their running backs now. I mean, Pollard, like this, I'm going to keep hammering this one. Zeke had more carries. He had more yards. He had the 2 touchdowns, right?
But Pollard looked better.
Yeah, dude, he just passes the eye test.
Yeah, he does.
Right?
I feel like every time he gets the ball, it's like 5-6 yards at least.
It's Lamb season. I mean, Dallas has a lot to be excited about. I mean, if
Cedric
anything,
Wilson made some nice catches.
If
Amari
anything,
Cooper didn't really do much this game.
I think if you're Jerry Jones after this year, you just have to kind of die, right?
If they win we have joked about that on our podcast before. If the Cowboys win the Super Bowl, Jerry takes that Lombardi Trophy and just crushes under the weight of it and dies a happy man.
Yeah, with his
that's exactly what
salted McMuffin or whatever the hell he eats.
Yeah.
All right.
That's disturbing. We don't have to spend too much time on that. Let's talk about the picks, since I know you're so eager to do that. In week 3, I went 9-7, which is what I did in week 1. Tommy went 10-6, and Mr. Will Southern 13-3.
You're damn right. 13-3.
Only missed 3 games. You missed you picked your precious Bucks. We all picked the Giants, and then we all picked the Patriots. So, great week. Do you want to take a quick victory lap?
No, I guess all I'll say is football is equally as important with analytics as it is the eyeball test, right? And just watch the games and watch trends, and then you'll get lucky like me and spank the shit out of people like you.
This might be the only week that you get to say that, so you know what? I'm going to let you get in your.
And I hope. Listen, we'll talk about DFS later. I didn't do so well there this week, but I hope Ryan enjoyed his taco hat that he got sent.
Yeah, good. Thank you. I meant to mention that. So the winner of last week's free DraftKings, our new sponsor, Pigskin Party Podcast League, chose the taco hat. So we're going to give a shout out here soon to the winners. You get to choose a hat of your choosing, but the taco hat is off the table because it has already been chosen. Stay tuned a little bit longer, and you'll get the code word and the instructions to get paid for those who cashed out. So on the season, Tommy is still first, 32-16. Will is second, 31-17. I'm third, 30-18. We're all within 2 games. So once again, we still have to figure out what the prizes are, what the punishment is for whoever finishes last. Feel free to send in some suggestions, pigskinpartypodcast@gmail.com, or hit us up on Twitter, official PPPod. We've got, 15 more weeks of picks. So we'll have plenty of time to figure out how we're going to.
You know what we're going to do is I'm going to grow this out until January, this lovely mane of hair that I have. And then at the end of the year, I'm going to cut it all off. And then I'm going to glue it together in a wig, and I'm going to send it to you. That's what you have to wear for the Super
Sometimes
Bowl.
your mind goes to very disturbing places.
It may or may not have a few pubes in it.
Okay, now you lost me. I was going to say, yeah, thank you, Anthony. I'm like, that could be interesting, but then the pubes, you had to take it there, didn't you? You had to. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into our picks. I have been informed, unfortunately, by Tommy that he is not going to be able to hop on for either show. So it's me and Will.
If last week proved anything, I mean, we don't need his fantasy analysis anyway.
Oh, ouch. Trashing the guy while he's off the show.
He has the best segment of the whole show, let's be honest.
He does. So for those who are sticking around for Tommy's Fantasy Island, you'll have to wait till next week. Maybe we'll have him drop it as a separate, just a quick little 10-minute podcast. I'll talk to him and we'll see if
Why don't you just do the intro for his segment where it's supposed to happen, and then he can just record it later and we can insert it.
It has to drop tomorrow. The episode drops tomorrow. Let's
put it in the flavor of the week. I don't know.
Let's figure it out.
Let's just take an IOU. We'll have him do an extra long one next week. I really do. I just like it when Tommy talks.
True. Yeah, I'm with you there. All right, let's go ahead and jump into let's go in and pick our Week 4 games, starting with Thursday Night Football. We're trying to do a quicker format here where we go a little bit deeper on the recaps and quicker on the picks. So, Will, if you have anything to say besides your pick, feel free. If not, we can just keep it moving. Thursday Night Football, Jacksonville Jaguars at Cincinnati Bengals. The Bengals are favored by 7.5.
Who are you picking?
Cincinnati. This didn't really take much.
I want to be like, this is the week for the Jags. They surprise, but no, not in Cincinnati. No,
exactly. On Thursday night, the way the Bengals are playing right now, I thought the same thing for 3 seconds. I'm like, no, it's going to be Cincinnati. Not sure if they cover the 7.5. But I do think they win, and our picks is just all about picking the winner. Early Sunday games, Tennessee Titans travel to the New York Jets. The Titans are favored by 7.5.
Titans.
I picked the Titans. I initially put the Jets, and I'm like, Brian, you're getting way too cute here. I was digging into the numbers. I'm like, I don't see anything that can justify this pick. My thinking originally was the Titans' defense is really bad. Maybe gives Zach Wilson an opening, but their the Jets' defense is bad also, and the Titans have a really good offense. So, agreed with you, going with the Titans on the road. Kansas City Chiefs going on the road against the Philadelphia Eagles. Chiefs are favored by 5.5. I'm picking Kansas City. Coming off that 2 losses in a row against a lesser team that they have faced, I think KC all the way.
Yep.
Okay. Carolina Panthers traveling to the Dallas Cowboys. You've got the 3-0 Panthers against the 2-1 Cowboys. It is in Jerry's world. The Cowboys playing at home. The Cowboys are favored by 4.5. Who you got?
I'm going to go with Dallas. I think it's going to be a very close game, but I think the loss of McCaffrey and Horn, I think if you're playing this game, and we'll talk about that, I think you want a lot of the Carolina players because they're going to have to race, but I think Dallas pulls it out.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you. I think this is going to be a fun game to watch. It's going to be close fought. I think that the Panthers defense will get some sacks on Dak, but I just think that offense is going to outduel Darnold, as you said, without McCaffrey.
Respect
Horn,
Sam Darnold.
Defense.
Respect him.
I respect him, but I respect Dak more. By the way, we didn't mention that when we were going over the Monday Night Football game, but Dak has looked phenomenal, top 3 quarterback good this season. If he keeps,
can we call him? We got to have nicknames for everybody. Should we call him Big Dick Dak? Does that work?
It's a little crass, but this show is crass, so fine. You can call them that, and I just won't correct you. New York Giants traveling to the New Orleans Saints. The Saints are favored by 8.5. I picked the Saints here. Didn't have a lot of. Yeah, you can look at the analytics. You can look at the feeling, whatever. In in New Orleans, are they playing in New Orleans? Did they get their stadium back? I don't even know that. I think they are. I think for Week 4, they're actually back practicing and ready to beat the Giants. Cleveland Browns.
Fun game.
But the next one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say not the Giants, the Saints. Yes, I agree. I really dug deep to try to pick this one. The Cleveland Browns traveling to the Minnesota Vikings. The Browns are favored by only a point. The over-under is 52.5, expecting some fireworks. Who are you picking here?
Whew. Man. Oh, God, I don't know. You go first.
I picked the Browns. It was not an easy pick. I think they're better top to bottom, but the way that I know that the Bears offense is bad, but they're still an NFL team, and the way that defense made them look, I'm feeling Cleveland right now. They're my Super Bowl pick, so with good reason. So I picked Cleveland. It's only a 1-point spread, so if you want to bet this game, I would also pick them to cover.
Yeah, man, I think the question here is like, if the Browns are going to have a very easy path to victory, right? Like it needs to be kind of through the air against Minnesota, right? And so I don't know if that's the way the Browns are really built. And
no, I don't think that's the case at all. The if you dig into the numbers, the run stop win rate. See, I get into all the analytics for the Vikings. Actually, isn't that good. And Chris Carson broke off a long run in the Seahawks game, and maybe it was because they didn't stick with the run enough that Minnesota ran away with it. I think Cleveland can control this game on the ground, and I think Cleveland's defense is better than Minnesota's, which is, even though it's on the road, I'm giving the Browns the edge here. But I think it's a good game.
I like the Browns better than Minnesota. I'm going to go with the Browns, bro. I want it to happen. I feel like it's very close, and respect Nick Chubb. Just respect him.
Respect him. And Kareem Hunt. Respect that whole backfield. Best in the league.
I very much respect Nick Chubb's backfield. It's amazing.
It's just the way your mind is wired.
The Detroit Lions.
The Detroit Lions travel to Soldier Field to take on the Chicago Bears. Detroit Lions.
First win of the year.
Still looking for their first win under Dan Campbell. I'm guessing that means you're picking Detroit. Chicago is favored by 3.5. Chicago is currently 1-2. Is that confirmation that you're picking the Lions?
Do I got to pick first?
You made me pick the last one first, so I'm going to make you pick this one first. My picks are already written in, so it's not like I'm going on what you're saying.
Yeah, I'm going to do it, bro. I think the Lions have fought hard enough. Contingent on field starting? Contingent on field starting.
We have to make decisions based on the information we have now. Which, by the way, there's rumors that Nick Foles is going to start.
Anthony, I need a sound drop for picking the Lions. I'm going with the Lions. I'm putting my foot down. Fair enough.
That makes you slap the bass.
I don't know what that means.
What? Anthony, get the bass ready, because I'm also picking the Detroit Lions.
All right.
Nice. I like it. I just think the Bears are quite bad. The one victory they had was Burrow just played bad, and they really just eked it out against Cincinnati. But the other two games, they've just looked dreadful, and this Lions team has played above their talent level under Dan Campbell. I see them going on the road and winning. Next game, let's just go through it quickly. Buffalo Bills. The only Bills, of course. The only thing is 17.5-point spread.
That's
Do you
too
think
much.
they hit that?
That's too much, bro.
That's crazy. That is crazy. This Texans team is not the worst team in the NFL. So I agree. I don't think they hit that. I would not bet that spread, but Bills to win for sure. The Indianapolis Colts 0-3 going to the 1-2 Miami Dolphins. My Miami Dolphins are favored by 1.5. I've got the Dolphins winning this. I can give you some logic behind it. It is not a homer pick. I think so Quentin Nelson is injured. He injured his ankle. There's a decent chance he does not play. That offensive line already hasn't been that good this year. You got Carson Wentz hobbling around on two bad ankles, and it showed in that Tennessee game. And you got a Dolphins defense that their weakness is not on the defensive side of the ball. Playing at home, I like the way Jacoby Brissett played decent. He didn't have a long ball, but he made some nice plays. To me, it's clear the Dolphins will win this game. What about you?
I don't know if it's that clear, but I'm going to go with Miami too.
They're close. It is tight. I think the edge goes to Miami. But yeah, maybe it's not maybe I'm just hoping it's clear because I don't want another Dolphins loss. The Washington football team sitting at 1-2, and it took a last second luck after missing a field goal to not be 0-3, travel to the newly 1-2 Atlanta Falcons. Atlanta is actually favored by 1 in this game.
You going to make me pick first?
I'll pick first. I have Atlanta. I think they're going to be riding high off of Arthur Smith's first victory. I'm not confident in Matt Ryan at all. However, I'm even less confident in that Washington secondary. I think they've still got the weapons. You don't have to have Ryan throwing the ball downfield. If you can get the ball to playmakers like Ridley, like Cordero Patterson, who's having a resurgent season, and like Kyle Pitts, you get those guys involved. And aside from Washington's front line, they just haven't been able to stop anyone in the secondary. So I think playing at home in the Georgia Dome, I like the Falcons here.
I mean, game theory says I should just agree with you. I don't know if we've picked anything different yet. However, I'll go out on a limb here. I'm going to take the football team. I just think...
Yeah. Actually, we haven't. We've picked all the same, so it's a good thing that you mixed
I'll go
it
out
up.
on a limb. I'll pick the football team. I think Atlanta's defense is just putrid. And, like, this could be a get-right spot for Washington's defense against Atlanta, you know. And Heineke doesn't look that bad. McLaurin still looks great. I mean, Logan Thomas is probably going to have a great game. So I'm going to go with the football team.
Okay. I could. This game was one of the harder ones for me to pick. I could see it going either way, but I'll stick with my Atlanta pick. The late games on Sunday, the Seattle Seahawks are traveling to the San Francisco 49ers. Seattle's 1-2. San Francisco coming off their first loss at 2-1. San Francisco is favored by 3.5 at home. I am going to make you pick this one first.
I'm going to go with San Francisco at home.
I am picking Seattle. So there you go. We got another variance. I think 2 losses in a row. San Francisco, as we talked about earlier, really has problems in the secondary, and that is where Seattle will shine. If they can exploit that San Francisco secondary, if they can get some pressure on Jimmy G, aside from a few heroic drives, Jimmy G didn't look that great against Green Bay. So I just think this is a get-right game for Seattle. That's why I picked the Seahawks. Arizona Cardinals. Now, this is, as far as I can see, the game of the week. We got the Arizona Cardinals 3-0 going against the Los Angeles Rams, also 3-0. Winner gets to stake their claim for the lead of the NFC West. The Rams are favored by 6 at home. You picking LA? Yeah, me too. I did dive into the numbers on this. I think Arizona can. Of course, I did. I gotta get. I'm in third place in the picks. That's unacceptable. Arizona can. I think they'll move the ball. I think this could be one of the 53.5 is the over/under. So we're expecting some points in this game. But that Rams team is just too good, and they're good on both sides of the ball. Arizona still has some questions on defense. Pittsburgh Steelers 1-2 and seem to be free falling.
That's probably the game of the week, right? Anthony.
Cardinals Rams.
Anthony, if you're picking the Rams, play the shotgun. If you're picking the Cardinals, play a bird's. Okay.
Didn't even wait for it. That's his team. That's his new team. He's got 3-0 Matt Stafford-led Rams versus 0-3 Lions. I'm telling you, Anthony, it's inevitable. Nice shotgun. The Pittsburgh Steelers, as I mentioned, in a free fall, 1-2 and just looking dreadful. Just came off a 14-point home loss to the Cincinnati Bengals, traveling to Lambeau Field to take on the red-hot Green Bay Packers. Green Bay is favored by 7.
Yep.
Green Bay. Agreed. Baltimore Ravens at the Denver Broncos. Denver is favored by 1.5 at home. Ravens are 2-1, and Broncos, as we mentioned earlier, are undefeated and in first place in the AFC West.
Ravens.
I'm going Broncos. I think I like them at home. Baltimore has just had so many injuries. They've had COVID problems. They've had to squeak by. The 2 wins that they have, they got forced to fumble to get the ball back and beat the Chiefs, and then they kicked a 66-yard field goal to beat the Lions.
Here's the
whereas
thing.
Denver has played solid. Denver has played 3 teams that are yet to win a game. I get that, but they have trounced those teams. They have done what they needed to do. Teddy's playing very well. I think this will be a close game, but I have Denver winning. Here's
the thing. If I'm going to say I don't really believe in the Broncos, then I need to pick to not believe in the Broncos.
You're right.
And I'm probably going to be wrong. Like I could see Denver winning this game, and if they do,
principle.
Then all right. Well, I guess I was wrong, and Denver's actually like in it. I actually don't think Baltimore is like that good, but I mean, hey.
But they got Lamar. Anytime you got Lamar, things can happen. Sunday Night Football. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This is the hyped up game. The Cardinals Rams might be the game of the week, but this is the most like narrative storytelling. Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Tom Brady, Rob Gronkowski traveling back home to the New England Patriots to take on Bill Belichick. The Bucs are favored on the road by 5.5. I think you and I have already said we're both in agreement that Tom just goes to town on Bill's Patriots, and clearly the Bucs win this game.
He might win so bad that he has a celebratory Subway sandwich after the fight. And he doesn't eat bread.
He doesn't eat bread, and he's a spokesperson for Subway, and I would like to see him eat some bread for personal satisfaction. Okay, I do like the storylines there. I like the narratives. But man, I think it would have been better for Bill if Tampa Bay would have beat the Rams. But coming off that loss, you posted something on our Twitter chat about some choice words that Tom said.
I've never heard him say stuff like that. That was crazy.
Not fit for a safe for work show like ours. But let's just say Tom Brady's a little pissed off, and when Brady's pissed off, bad things happen to whoever he's playing.
All right, the game of the Monday Night Football. The overhyped Raiders are going in to take on the Los Angeles Chargers. The Chargers are favored by 3.5. Brian, I would like your take on how you feel this game is going to play out.
I think the Raiders get their first loss of the season, and I do think LA Chargers at home. Herbert is just so good.
Air Bear.
Coming off a coming off a 4-touchdown game. Now they get to play at home against a Raiders team that has been good in the pass rush, susceptible in the secondary. And I think LA just takes it home. I've got the Chargers.
It's a good time to be a Chargers fan. It really is. I need to get myself some Air Bear memorabilia. I've got my Josh Allen over there. Speaking of, our buddy Blake, who does the football card segment for us, pulled an autographed Herbert Prism rookie card last year. So good for you, bro. But
congrats, Blake.
Yeah. I think, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it a little bit in the script in the next. There's a lot to talk about for this Chargers team, though. It's a good time for them.
All right. So once again, just the two of us, just like old times.
2 of us.
Moving into our fantasy corner, we're going to start with our DFS hires and flyers presented by DraftKings. This is a segment where Will and I take our turns picking our hires, players that are higher priced on DraftKings that we think are poised to get their value in the price that you're paying. And then our flyers are lower price budget value picks that we think have good matchups or good opportunities to produce. And this is the opportunity where I get to read our first ad read from our new sponsor, DraftKings. Week 3 of football is in the books. I even got a segue for it. And it's time to review the tape and get ready for Week 4 with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. To kick off another action-packed week, DraftKings is giving new customers $150 instantly. Well, it's too bad you already signed up. You could get $150 instantly if you wanted to, when they bet just a single dollar on any football game. So, as we talk about our free DraftKings League, which I will mention again towards the end of the show, if you're listening and you've never signed up for DraftKings, this is your time to do it. Just head to the DraftKings Sportsbook app now, place a bet of $1 on any Week 4 game, and receive $150 in free bets instantly. If Sportsbook is not yet available in your state, DraftKings still has huge cash prizes up for grabs all season long with their daily fantasy contests. DraftKings is giving all new customers a free shot at millions of dollars in total prizes with their first deposit. Just download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use promo code TPPN. So that's the Pigskin Podcast Network. Promo code TPPN to receive $150 in free bets when you place a $1 bet on any football game. That's promo code TPPN this week at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL. Must be 21 or older, New Jersey, Indiana, or Pennsylvania only. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit and $1 wager required. One per customer. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or in Indiana 1-800-9-WITH-IT. Boom. Nailed it. How'd that feel? That felt good to me. It felt good to you?
All right. Fair enough.
Fair enough.
Lost like four listeners for that ad, but that's fine.
Hey, if you've listened this far, that's because you want to listen to our hires and flyers. And guess what? Our hires and flyers is now all about DraftKings, so you should join too. Promo code TPPN. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump into each position. I'll start with quarterback, my hire. So as a reminder, these prices are now DraftKings prices. We used the site that shall be named previously. Now we're looking at DraftKings. So Josh Allen, $8,000 versus that Texans defense. I mean, come on. Allen coming off a 5-touchdown game, if you include that rushing touchdown, still only $8,000. Really easy for him to get 3 or 4 times that. Pretty straightforward. No additional analysis needed. And then my flyer pick, Anthony, I told you there'd be some good Lions talk. Jared Goff, only $5,200, going up against that Bears defense, which has been very susceptible to the pass. And Jared Goff has been averaging 20 points, almost 21 points, 20.8 points through 3 games. So $5,200, just based on his average, you're getting 4x return. I like that if you're looking to go lower at quarterback.
I I feel like we should go higher, flyer. But
you want to go back and forth?
If we're gonna do that, so like, yeah, that's cool. We're gonna run with it now on this one. Okay. So I think I agree with you. I think Allen, if you're spinning up, Allen's the play in cash this week against the Titans defense. I mean, just there's not a lot to need to say about it. I think if you wanted to go flip the script a little bit and still pay up in a tournament, you could go Russell Wilson against the San Francisco secondary, even though it goes against my pick. Not a lot to. I mean, he's got
49ers can win, and Wilson can still produce.
Sure. I think that'd be the tournament way you could go. I do like the Goff pick. I'm really high this week for me, Darnold against that Dallas secondary.
I looked at Darnold. Yeah.
Of course, you say that every week. Every week you say you looked at my picks. Of course you do. But anyway, I think that's a good theme for me. I really like Darnold against Dallas this week.
All right. Do you want to do the higher, flyer going forward?
Let's do that. Let's try it. Let's give it a shot.
We're winging it. It's just the two of us. We don't have Tommy. No fantasy.
We can make it if we try.
Yes, that's right. My higher this week, we mentioned him earlier, Alvin Kamara, 8,400 versus the Giants defense. He had 27 touches last week and 20.8 points last week. I think clearly Sean Payton realized that in order to win these games, you're going to have to get him involved. I think the offense runs through him going forward. I think Peyton knows if he leaves it up to Jameis, then he gets what he had against the Panthers. So I just like the opportunity and volume going forward at 8,400. I think it's easy to get the price back.
Especially on a site like DraftKings, it's full PPR.
That is important. We should specify that. Go ahead.
The guy that I think, again, if you're going to go tournament and he's not as good a play on DraftKings as he is on other sites, I think Kamara is the play. But if you're going to do something different, you could do worse than Henry this week against the Jets. The Titans are not going to have to do much. This could easily be like a 2 or 3 touchdown Henry game where he has 100 yards, right? Like they just get down the field with little passes and then Henry goes in over and over. So I'm going to go Henry.
For my flyer, I'm going back to the well. My pick worked out last week, and that was Cordero Patterson, who is on DraftKings just a running back. But still, this is the running back section, 4,900 versus the Washington defense that has just not been very good. Cordero Patterson, the guy who everybody's been waiting to unlock for years, has been averaging 20 points on DraftKings the last 2 games. At that price, to me, that's a no-brainer.
I think the thing with him was, were we gonna see him on the field in the usage to justify? And I think we've got enough data points through 3 weeks to say, yeah. At that price, yeah. I think
dude's getting 7 or 8 carries a game and like 6 to 7 targets a game. I mean, that's awesome.
It's good enough. Like they're using him, right?
For that price, until that price goes up, that's just I couldn't say no.
I agree with you. That's the pick. I think if you're going to do something different, I'm going to go on my Mike Davis versus Washington.
So we're along the same line, just picking a different running back.
It's dirty. I don't really like it, but I mean, if you need, you got a flex spot, you want somebody sort of cheap, if he scores, he's been averaging about 10 to 12 points a game. You could do a lot worse at 5,100.
It's good for us to have differing picks, but I think you would agree that between these two, Patterson's the better play. There, he's $200 cheaper.
That's what I said.
And I know. I'm just for the listeners. I'm making sure they know. Mike Davis, sure, but Patterson is $200 cheaper and is going to be involved as a wide receiver as well. So you're going to have more opportunities, especially, once again, DraftKings full PPR. So that's important to note. Wide receiver, I had to go with the top dog right now. Cooper Kupp, 7,800 versus that Cardinals defense. I believe this is the highest point total. I think it's close to 55 at the over-under. And when you're trying to target these high position plays, you want to go on the games that are most likely to score the most points. And so why not pick the best receiver on the team that's likely to win that game with the most points? And that's Cooper Kupp. 5 touchdowns already this season. Clearly, Stafford is in love with Cooper Kupp. 7,800 is still a great price. He's averaging 32.4 points through 3 games.
That's the pick, right? That's the pick. If you're going to do something different, though, I love DJ Moore. This week, he's 6,600 again versus Dallas secondary. Stacking that with the Darnold pick, you could do worse.
And my flyer, Jalen Waddle, only 4,900 versus that Colts defense. He is averaging nearly 9 targets per game. He had 13 targets against Las Vegas. So clearly Jacoby Brissett and the Miami Dolphins offense is trying to get the ball in Waddle's hands. That much opportunity with that much talent, all it takes is him taking one of those short passes, breaking it for a long touchdown for him to pay off. He doesn't even need to pay off with a touchdown at 4,900. You know, in a full PPR league, you can get 3x just by having him catch 6 passes for, like 80 yards or something. So easy to get the value back there. Jalen Waddle, 4,900.
You could do worse. I think if you want to go a little different, though, he disappointed some people last week. How is Arizona going to move the ball, right, against the Rams? If assuming Hopkins is back, Kirk, I think that's where Ramsey's action is going to be. They've been playing him in the slot a little, I think. But Rondale Moore, 4,600. He's going to have to be involved, right? Like the Rams or the Cardinals are going to have to figure something out. So if you want to take a flyer on somebody, I could do probably worse than him this week.
I like him better in a tournament play, like a GPP, as opposed to a cash game. But there could be some logic there. You've got Ramsey and Williams shutting down maybe A.J. Green and Nuke Hopkins. So then it's going to be more up to Kirk and Rondale Moore to kind of get some of those extra targets. In a game that, as we said, is going to be high scoring. So at 4,600, that's a pretty I can't argue with that pick. Moving on to tight end. Got to go with the big dog here too. Travis Kelce, 8,100 versus that Eagles defense. Once again, I feel this is a game that the Eagles have played a lot of too high safety, meaning they want to keep the deep ball in check and keep the game in front of them. Chiefs coming off their second loss in a row. I just see this being like a Kelce, 8-catch, 100-yard, 2-touchdown game.
They all are, right?
They all are. That's another thing. Is his floor is so high.
I like Logan Thomas this week versus Atlanta. I
looked at him too.
Of course you did. You could say, you save a lot of money, right? 4,900. Has been getting some really good volume, some decent value. Not a lot to say.
Yeah, generally I don't like to pay up. If I pay up, it's for Kelce. I probably won't put Kelce in a lot of lineups because you've got some great value targets below that. Noah Fant is only 4,300, going up against a Ravens defense that just lost KJ Hamler. As I mentioned, they already lost Jerry Jeudy. There's only so many targets there. Fant is a talent. And this Ravens defense has already been beat badly by tight ends in Darren Waller and the aforementioned Travis Kelce. So I just think the opportunity is there. The price is almost half of what Kelce is. I like going on the lower price tight ends this week.
I agree. If you want to go dirty.
Let's get dirty.
Freiermuth versus Green Bay.
It's not as dirty as you think. He's been targeting him in the end zone. Yeah.
Scored last week. If you're going to take a crapper tight end and at DraftKings, I kind of like taking crapper tight ends. 3,100 is basement price.
Yep.
I agree. Fant's probably Fant or Thomas. Probably Fant more than Thomas, really.
Save $600 there too.
But if you're going to go bargain basement diving, you can go Freiermuth.
If you want to completely punt, that is as about a good a punt as you can get because, as Will said, he scored a touchdown last week. He's a tight end running short routes. Big Ben has no arm strength.
None.
I see the logic. Yeah. And finally, defense. I'm going to go with my Dolphins defense. I did not pick I didn't really like the high-end defenses this week on DraftKings. So the highest price one I figure out that I liked is the Dolphins defense for only 3,200 versus that Colts offense. As we mentioned, when I picked Miami to win this game, Carson Wentz is hobbled and Quentin Nelson is injured. It's at home in Miami. So I just like how this could set up to get a few sacks, maybe get some turnovers against the Colts.
For sure. I think the narrative that has been building is play whatever defense plays the Jets, right? Because Zach Wilson's going to hand you stuff. That could very well be true this week, but I think my gut is telling me that's fool's gold this week. The Titans are going to win.
Right, but the Titans do not have a good defense. So.
Right, so I don't think it's going to be that bad of a game for Zach. If this game is a very, if the Titans defense balls out and does really well, then the answer to what defense to play for the rest of the year is going to be whatever defense is playing Zach Wilson. That said, I'm not going there. I'm going to do the Saints versus the Giants. Saints defense looked great, and if you're going to pay up, I agree with you. I'm not paying up this week. But if you're going to pay up, I would prefer to pay for the Saints over the Titans. Titans is kind of an obvious play. The Saints could be pretty good. They were great against the Pats.
Sticking in that same Titans game, but on the other side of it, the Jets defense, you really want to just punt. The lowest priced defense in the slate this week, only $2,000. The way I see it is, first of all, it's only $2,000. And the Jets, if you look at their PFF grade for their defensive line, they're
stack the Jets
high.
in Freiermuth for $5,000.
There you go, and you spend all that money on all the better stuff. But yeah, the Jets' defensive line has actually been grading pretty well in PFF, which means they're getting some pressures, they're making some stops. The secondary is an issue, but in the end, I like to pick defenses based on value and based on their ability to get sacks, because sacks cause pressure, cause turnovers, cause fumbles. If the Jets can get a few sacks of Tannehill, then $2,000. I only need them to get 3 or 4 points to pay that off, or just not get negative.
Man, Anthony's gonna love me if I'm gonna take the Lions defense.
So much Lions love this week, Anthony.
Contingent on Justin Fields playing.
Do contingencies.
Yes, I can.
No.
You can absolutely do that in DFS. In DFS
for your own lineup, we're not gonna. But for the advice we're giving, I guess you should give advice. You're right. DFS, give advice to our listeners.
Of course, because
right.
I
corrected myself. Yeah.
I wouldn't last week have said Alexander Madison was the play of the slate going into the weekend. We record this show on Tuesday. Absolutely, you need to evaluate going into the actual slate what's what. If Justin Fields is the starter, take a flyer on the Lions defense. I would prefer, if Justin Fields is playing, I would prefer to pay $2,200 for the Lions defense versus Fields than the Jets defense versus Ryan Tannehill, A.J. Brown, Derrick Henry, and Julio Jones.
Yeah, you're probably right. Now I'm feeling a little foolish on my Jets $2,000 I just went bargain basement, but it's only $200 more. Lions at $2,200 versus that horrible Chicago offense. I'm kind of feeling you here, Will.
Can I do Tommy's Fantasy Island for him? Hey, everybody, I'm Tommy, and this is my Fantasy Island, and I'm going to tell you stuff.
Drop.
Oh, sorry.
Gotta get the sound drop.
Hey, everybody, I'm Tommy, and this is my Fantasy Island, where I give you all the best picks of the week. All right, I'm not actually going to... I can't actually do his analysis justice. I can maybe do his personality justice. I love that
voice.
Dude.
That made it worth it.
We'll get him back here and doing that soon enough.
Tommy, I hope you're listening to this episode, and I hope your HVAC problem is taken care of, and we hope you get back here as soon as possible, because your show is... It's just not the same without you. I completely agree. All right, let's wrap up by giving some shout-outs to our DFS winners from last week. So our DFS free league, which is sponsored by DraftKings now. I love that. It's free to enter. If you have not entered yet, make sure to email us at pigskinpartypodcast@gmail.com. And then when you go to DraftKings, use promo code TPPN, the Pigskin Podcast Network. That's our new podcast network that we're a part of. Promo code TPPN gives you $150 in free bets when you place just a $1 bet on any Week 4 game. So people who have already done that, we had 18 entries this week, which is awesome. That's the most entries we've had so far. The league continues to grow. When people figure out that we're giving away free money, it tends to bring them on. So it's worked out well. So our DraftKings leagues had 18 entries this week. First place was Playoff Bound. It's like Playoff Bound with a V, who had 203.54 points. You get epic. More with the double trigger, Anthony. Anthony's excited. We've talked up Anthony's Lions so much, he's ready to hit all the buttons in front of him.
Boom.
$35 for first place. Playoff Bound, what a fantastic, over 200 points. $15 for second place. Smooth 238. One of our halftime listeners now has placed second twice in a row. Smooth. Congrats again, man. You're killing it. Tell those other half-timers to get on and partake in the fun. 166.92 points. And in third place for $5, Timex 2132 with 158.34 points. So all you need to do...
legit, it's free money. All you got to do is, if you listen to this show and you play DraftKings, just enter a lineup and you could win free money.
Even if you don't play DraftKings, we're going to give you promo code TPPN. You get $150 in free bets just for placing a $1 bet on any Week 4 game. Do that. Play the contest 100% for free. Win money like Playoff Bound, Smooth 238, and Timex 2132. Just any of you email code. I almost read it. You changed my code word. Oh, I caught it mid. MVP Josh Allen. It says in my show notes MVP Tom Brady. If you email me MVP Tom Brady, I will not be paying you out. The actual code word is MVP Josh Allen. Email it to pigskinpartypodcast@gmail.com or DM us on Twitter at officialpppod. Code word MVP Josh Allen. If you want to get in, once again, if you want to join, hit us up on Twitter, send us an email, use promo code TPPN, get some free money, man. Play some DraftKings DFS and get some free money. Could not be any easier. Let's give a shout out and a update on the standings for our DFS season-long league within the show itself. Lil Mack 03, that is my brother Sean, won for the second time. 2 out of 3 weeks he has won our kind of internal DFS league. He had 143.18 points. And the host standings, Tommy remains in first among the three of us with 389.24. Will in second place, just 8 points behind at 380.6, and me quite a bit behind and needing to catch up at 335.44. I think I gained on Will, but I lost some points to Tommy. And that's it. That's it, man. We are wrapping up our first ever show under the Pigskin Podcast Network umbrella. It sounds like a podcast network we made up. I promise you we didn't. Go check out pigskinpodcastnetwork.com. You can see all the other great podcasts that are on there. We're going to be connecting with those podcasters, bringing them on the show. They cover all of the different individual NFL teams. As far as right now, we're the only podcast that covers the whole NFL. Check out the podcast network. Check out DraftKings. Use promo code TPPN. I'm just going to drive that in. Get some free money. That way, get some free money by joining our league. Will, thank you for sticking around. Glad you don't have HVAC problems. We're going to be going to the flavor of the week next, so stick around for that. It'll just be me and Will again, because I think Tommy is still dealing with his issue. Don't forget to subscribe. Tell your friends. Leave us a 5-star review. Still batting 1,000 on iTunes. Check us out on Twitter at OfficialPPPod. You can watch this show on YouTube and all the different social media stuff. And don't forget to stick around for the flavor of the week.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of the Pigskin Party Podcast. If you're enjoying the show, please feel free to rate, subscribe, and leave a review wherever you listen to your podcasts. We really appreciate that effort. We'll catch you in the next Pigskin Party.